Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. BetSperts Golf. Ryan Noonan here. Flying solo this morning. Should be a national holiday. I guess it is in a sense. No rest for the weary here. On the back of some uneven golf on the PGA Tour. Unfortunately, we are continuing on this week at the Genesis Invitational. We are heading to the incredible Riviera Country Club. And I am here to walk you through a first look. I'll take a look at the betting board, take a look at some of the key stats through the rabbit hole, some of the things that we think are going to matter this week in terms of handicapping. Now that we are officially turning the page on the NFL season, which is again, we've been here and us as casuals are going to be coming in a little bit more into this space because there's fewer things to bet on. There's nothing to watch on Sundays anymore except golf, and hopefully golf this week can get a win. Obviously, everything that happened at Pebble with the weather in a week that they had kind of a window of opportunity with the NFL buys heading into the Super Bowl. And then obviously last week, the People's Open went off the wall, and then they had weather issues there as well. Uneven, just no rounds finishing as it normally would. So hopefully we can get just turning the page from the NFL season. Great game, very entertaining football game last night. And then now we hopefully have golf by itself in a premier spot in one of the best courses in the country. And Tiger Woods is back. So again, like, we're golf hardos. If you are hanging out with me at 8 o'clock Central Time on a Monday morning after the Super Bowl, you are not driven to this event because Tiger Woods is here. It is also just a byproduct of what's happening. Tiger Woods is here. And I think that just brings more eyeballs. And, hopefully that's a win for all of us. So, kudos to Nick Taylor. Kudos to Charlie Hoffman. Very entertaining end of that waste management tournament. Obviously, not ideal for waste management at all to go into that close to the Super Bowl and the kickoff. Scotty Scheffler in the mix. Could not get it done there, which is, putting for Scotty was the undoing again. But yeah, Nick Taylor seems to love that course. There's something obviously to course horses there with, Theegala being in the mix again. Nick Taylor, that's Charlie Hoffman for years, previously when Charlie was, a prominent member of the tour and, competitive, but that was cool to see. But again, we'll turn the page. I'll take a look at some of the stuff here that's important this week at the Genesis. You can head over to the site now. You can see here, it's on the screen. This is our preview from Ron Kloss, PGA Splits 101, most extensive written preview that you're going to find in the internet. Just the data and the detail that Ron has in here is absolutely incredible. But again, we are dealing with a signature event, so the field should be reminiscent really of what we saw at Pebble a couple weeks ago in terms of to the top of the world. It is capped for a field of 80, but based off of qualifications and things of that side, we're about 70. It's probably where we're going to be. Still waiting on some of that stuff, but limited fields. This is one of the signature events. These guys, this became an invitational. This is Tiger's event. And some of those signature events had pushed, they wanted to maintain a cut. So this will be a 36-hole cut event, top 50 in ties, and then kind of like the old Masters cut line too, players within 10 strokes of the 36-hole lead as well. So again, with the 70-person field, like, there is a cut. Most are going to make it, but it does add a different dynamic in terms of if you're betting to make the cut, there'll maybe be a bet make the cut market this week, maybe not. Not going to be great odds. If you're playing DFS, those things are going to matter this week because not everyone's assured to make the weekend just because it's a signature event, even though that's kind of what we've had here as of late. Just again, Riviera is one of the most incredible courses that we have. It is you will hear people talk about it being like a second shot course, shot maker's course, but it's not like it's not heavy-handed. There are a lot of different shots that are needed here. You're going to have to play a fade and a draw. There are times where, it could be driver heavy, and we're seeing that kind of shift here as of late. That's kind of a unique thing that's happening too in terms of, some of the, specifics of the course. The Kikuyu rough is unique. We don't see that a lot on tour. It's basically here in Torrey. So there may be something to that. We're back onto the California POA greens, which are obviously very difficult. Putting inside 10 feet, things of that nature are more difficult, especially if you are not familiar. So having someone with POA background, some success, and we can maybe you putted well at Torrey, those things are something that we want to look at here quite a bit. Again, you can scroll here onto to Ron's. Again, you're going to get more information. He's got you covered with everything possibly, breaking down the fields. Look at some of the course history. You can watch obviously some stuff from YouTube, and what some actual course history. Who's played well here in the past? He's got all this in terms of all their strokes gain data, along with the finishing positions as well. All this is available, breaking down every hole here. And again, we're 7,300 yard, par 71. We mentioned the cut. There's not a lot of penalty on this course in terms of you're not having water damage. You can get into a spot where you're in that thick rough. You're maybe in some tree line, dog leg situations where, you're going to have to force your way out. So it's not, it's like driver heavy could be a new strategy that we're seeing, because it's like hitting the fairways is really hard. Greens and reg is really hard. So it's one of those things like, hey, if everyone, even the fairway finders, are missing the fairways at a pretty high rate, can you bomb and gouge this course now in a way that you historically haven't been able to? Just a lot of unique holes too. Obviously the drivable 10th hole, the par 4, and we have the tiered par 3 that has two-tiered green and a bunker in the middle of it. There's a lot of bunkering around this course as well. And again, these are all things that you could find here in detail in Ron's preview here, going hole by hole as well. All right. Also, I want to tell you guys about how to get access to all that we're doing here at BetSports Golf to get the rabbit hole. If you're not familiar, the rabbit hole is, we're going to walk through, look at some of the course history here, some of the stats that matter here for this week at the Genesis. You can get full access to everything we're doing at BetSports Golf, articles, the rabbit hole, Discord, get you all the picks that myself, Ron, Andy Molitor, all the things that we're doing over at BetSports Golf for just $5. $5. We're partnered with Vivid Picks. If you're not familiar with Vivid Picks, like Vivid Seats, same parent company. They have a pick'em game, a fantasy pick'em game, similar to some of the other ones you're familiar with, Underdog, Prize Picks, things of that nature. You can simply use our promo code BetSportsGolf. Use the link here as well. This is a free article you can find on the site. And they will first match your deposit up to $250. So again, if you really want to play on Vivid, and I really do recommend it. They have a few unique features. Golf product came out last week. We're going to hopefully have some more of that moving forward. There's a social element where, like, if you follow people, you can get boosted odds. We're going to have boosted BetSports Golf plays there too. So it is going to be a really cool, exciting adventure for us this season in terms of like picks and plays there as well. But if you just want to use it straight up as a loophole to get access to BetSports Golf for cheap, simply use the promo code, deposit and play $5, and you will get a promo code to have access to BetSports Golf for the rest of the season. No strings attached. That's it. If you live in a state where BetSports or where Vivid Picks is not available, we apologize. That is the case for a lot. We are currently, I think, at 28 states for Vivid Picks with some of the state bylaws and things of that nature. Just DM us on Twitter at BetSports Golf, at Ron at PGA Splits 101, myself at Ryan Noonan. We will give you a best promo code that we can give you. Now, this is an affiliate deal. I can't give you a promo code that gets you a $5 subscription. I hope that makes sense to you, and I apologize, but we can give you the best deal that we currently are offering. And again, we're cheaper than almost every content site out there. We are definitely cheaper than any data site, and I would go toe to toe with our data versus anyone for the full price. So again, I know I can't get you a $5 promo code. I know some people get frustrated, but we are worth the full rate. I promise you. So let's jump into that. Take a look. Well, real quick, let's take a look at the opening odds. Look at FanDuel is out currently. This is what we're dealing with this year with these signature events, right? We are dealing with these small fields, top loaded field, but we're still paying super short odds. Now, obviously, shop around. But Scotty here at the top, 7-1. Rory here as well, plus 850. Vic is back after taking a little hiatus, 12-1. Vic has played well here in the past. Xander as well. You get these California guys, these POA guys. Xander at 14, Homa at 14. Homa's available a little bit longer in other places too. Homa, nice course history here. Obviously, the winner back in 2021, and then almost held off Rahm here last year. Rahm is the defending champ, obviously not here to defend. Colin Morikawa has played well here. Again, the California guys, Cantley would be in the mix there as well. Ludwig Oberg, we are here. It is not something that we're not waiting anymore for Ludwig. We are paying full rate for that. Again, long and straight, I would think would play very well here at the Riv. JT looking to be, looks fully back. I mean, you look at how he's been playing as of late, and we'll dig into some of those numbers. It has a pretty decent course history here at Riv as well. Sammy Burns continues to be in the mix week in and week out. Finau has a nice history. Spieth rounding out the guys kind of there in the top 30. Again, you're not getting discounts here. So there's interesting approaches. Some people like to get in. I typically like to get in early on a Monday. I think you see some closing line value that I think doesn't matter as much, obviously, in golf outright betting comparatively to other sports. But again, you would always prefer the best of the number. I think you can pick that off sometimes on a Monday morning. I'm hesitant to say that that's the case in the current environment of short field signature events where everyone's kind of jammed into the top and everyone's pretty short to open. There might be something to be said for waiting a little bit in these scenarios where you might get the board reshuffling based off of who's getting early action. Now, if you have, if you think you're going to want to get Homa, you probably want to get Homa or, one of these California guys earlier, right? The more people consume content, the more people do research themselves on the rabbit hole, look at California splits or POA splits or things of that nature. They'll probably be led to those guys. So that those guys, you could sell me on that still being advantageous to jump in early. For the most part, I think there may be something to be said for letting the board settle a little bit. So, but let's play around with some data. Let's mess around and find out. This is the rabbit hole. If you're seeing this for the first time, this is our customizable, officially licensed PGA Tour data. This has everything that you would need to see recent form, to build a model, to get an understanding of, not who should I bet on per se, but who should I continue to do some more research on? What stats do I value here? What's mattered here in the past? And we have data and things that you could put into a model that you can't find anywhere else. Other stat providers, you can't currently put all the things that we have in here. We are continuing to work and have some really cool things coming, I think, in the next week or two that I think are going to continue to make your process of, I think, doing the work. I think the golf community more so than anything, obviously I'm involved in football stuff as well. I feel like the football community wants picks. Give me winners, give me picks. What are we on? What are we doing? What can I tail? And I love that. Love that in our football community, especially at 4 for 4. But I think the golf community really likes to dig in. They want to look at data. They want to chop it up. They want to look at it in a few different ways. And I think this tool, more than anything out there, provides you with the best way to do it. You can see, obviously, we are looking at the field here for the Genesis. You can mess around with seasons, and maybe we'll do this here. If you just want to see what's been going on for 2024, we can do that as well. Lots of views. We are defaulting here to the strokes gain view. But again, you can mess around. You can see all sorts of ways to chop up this data. This is your time frame. This kind of works in unison here with rounds played. You kind of have to mess around with these things here together, depending on the sample size that you're looking for. You can pick region, something unique that you cannot do anywhere else. Different states. Again, you can see different regions as well. If you want to just look at U.S. West Coast, if you want to look at California specifically, we can just pull data based off of the region states that are in courses that are in California. Pretty cool. When you do those things, anytime you're chopping some of this stuff up, you want to make sure you mess around with your time frames. Make sure you're giving yourself a sample size, a data set that is not completely noisy and useless and small, and something that's going to hopefully capture the entirety of the field. Otherwise, your data set can get pretty noisy, so careful with that. Course type, if you want to do this as well, again, not necessarily something I'm focusing on this week, but again, something that's available to you. If you want to look at specific course history and get a sense of what's happened at Riviera, we could do that here as well. No current salaries on the DFS sites, but you can look at both DraftKings or FanDuel here as well. We are defaulting to the display for ranking for these statistics. You can look at the average per round, total during the time frame in which you selected. I always love rounds, like percentage of rounds gained. I think this tells a unique story as well in terms of consistency. How often is someone gaining strokes in that specific category? So it's going to capture, maybe floor in a way that's different than maybe, ceiling or something like that. You can also do that specifically in one of these views here and look at floor ceiling. You want to see how often, just click in and show you. You've seen this for the first time. We talk about spike weeks, often in putting, right? All right, Scotty, tee to green, dynamic. We just need spike putting weeks. Luke List, man, he just lights it up consistently, tee to green. We just need a spike putting week from Luke List. Well, what does that actually mean? And how frequently does that happen? So you can go into any of these strokes gain statistics and see how often does player over the said time frame gain strokes gain total more than one. We see here over the last 6 months, tells you the amount of rounds played. So small sample for JT. He's gaining strokes total and 81.8% of his rounds. Fantastic. You want to see, let's look at putting. What does that actually mean? Who's gaining 3 strokes or more? JT Poston, Harris English, Wyndham Clark. You want spike putting weeks? They're gaining 3 or more strokes in 14 plus basically percent of their rounds played. So that's actually a statistical alignment with a popular phrase in the space. What does that actually transpire to? So this is not something you necessarily would add to your model per se, but you can actually just get a sense of what that looks like. So I think very, very, very useful. And I think there's an application for it in betting, but even more so in the DFS space. Really cool to see what that actually looks like. You can download these, cut them up, put them into CSV. And if you love to model, you can build multiple models, weigh them all differently, and download them into a CSV. That is a unique feature as well. You want to see what our staff has? You can go in and just look here. You can see we got to turn off of some of our stuff. Looks like I have something. This is all of our waste management stuff. But you can be able to see all of our staff's models. So you want to see, hey, what is Ron, PJ Splits 101, doing with his model this week? What stats does he have in there that I need to have in there? These are things that you can click into. You can see what we built. Again, you can help it structure and forecast your model, which I think is also something that's I think pretty useful for you to see as well. You can also go in here to filter by conditions, and you can chop this up into so many ways. And I think again, this is just again, helps you tell a story based off of what we're going to be looking for this week. So let's, for the sake of time, let's jump in. I want to show you. Let's just look at course history. Let's see a little bit of who's played well. And again, this is it's not something that I really value. Let's back it out to 5 years because again, they don't come here very often. I think it's really noisy. We're really looking at a 4-round sample over the course, and I go back to 5 years at max, a 20-round sample. It's pretty noisy. People like it. So I think we'll do it for the sake of the show and just to look at it, to get a sense of who's played well here. And this can answer, I think, some of the questions that we have in terms of, who's been familiar with these fairways, who's been familiar with putting here. So again, not my favorite data set, but I think is something we could take a look at this morning. Now it's going to tell you here, we're obviously capped out at 20 rounds. And this tells you here that we have 20 rounds. We're going to see that we don't have 20 rounds for everybody. You could see, we're going to get some people just playing here once. You could also set a minimum rounds. I wouldn't do that for this application because we're going to really shrink it down. But this helps filter out some of the noise, small data, small sample stuff too for people that I think is also another really cool tool. But let's just see who's played well at Riv over the last 5 years. And again, here are the California kids at the top. Over the last 5 years, Home has been here every year. He leads in strokes gained total. Morikawa as well. And you can see down the line what he's done pretty well. Morikawa has not putted particularly well here. Cantley hasn't either, which is actually pretty surprising to me. Though Cantley's still third in strokes gained total. Tee to green again. Cantley was in the mix here last year. Cam Young was really competitive here a couple years ago in that Neiman victory. the 2022 victory where Joaquin Neiman won here. Cam Young kind of making his splash there as a rookie. Hovland has played well here as well. Around the green matters. It's kind of been what solved Vic last year. And changed, got rid of his short game coach. He wanted to get his game right after, he took a week off there and skipped a little bit. So we'll wait and see what happens with Vic, see if he's got some of that dialed back in. Adam Scott has played well here historically and has been playing pretty well as of late. Has been on a nice run, had a nice little finish to the waste management there as well. Zalatoris has played well here. Zalatoris played well. Obviously lost to Luke List over at Torrey a couple years ago. But again, we have some similarities in terms of the Kikuya rough and these POA greens. So there is some corollary there as well. So let's back out of this. And just to show you what that looks like, let's just take a look at that. Let's look this is a very granular search that we could do here specifically with the rabbit hole. So let's change the time frame. Let's go 3 years. We'll go a little smaller. And I want to look at, we talked about this at the top. Fairways, hard to find here. Last year, driving accuracy, 51.3%. About 7% worse than a tour average event. Driving distance, historically, has been a little bit below average here. People sometimes play less than driver, fairway finders to give themselves the opportunity to hold on these smaller greens. And the rough can be, a little bit interesting and a little bit gnarly. But now, again, people are just kind of gripping and ripping. And that's we've seen driving distance kind of go up a little bit. So, again, fairways are a little bit more narrow. Greens and reg way down as well. Last year, 54.9%. Greens and reg rate, again, like almost 10% worse than tour average event. So you need to be able to scramble a little bit too. But who's performed well in these specific Kikuya rough conditions? We can do this here. So we have green surface, green size, green speed, fairway surface. But let's look at this rough surface. This is going to tell us a unique story about who's played well from the rough at Riv and at Torrey Pines. And again, I think that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with capturing some of that data, and I think that matters a little bit. So we went back to 3 years. Again, we're getting a decent sample size here. And you can see, just for point of reference, this little red dot reminds me that I have a condition on, and this also has the Kikuya right here as well. It's so fun to say, but you can just close it out from here. It's important to know, because if you start to run other filters and other views and other stuff, if you don't turn this off, it's all based off of this filter. So you want to make sure you turn that off when you're done looking at it. So this is telling us about strokes gained, but let's look very granularly, specifically at the rabbit hole. We allow you to break it down from a fairway and rough standpoint. So let's look at rough approach with Kikuya grass over the last 3 years. Now, when you look in terms of the dispersion of shots here, no short irons. We are dealing with basically 150 plus. Looking at data golf, last year, 26.3% of the approach shots came from the 150 to 175 mark, 21.8% from the 175 to 200 mark. Comfortably, both marks comfortably above tour average. It's going to matter here. So, and again, those are also coming, not all, but a lot of them are coming from the rough, and you're going to have to be able to navigate that this week. So let's take a look at what this data is telling us. So you can get here specifically, you can hover over all these stats, and they're going to tell you actually what the stat is. It's going to give you the specifics. Now, some of these, obviously, but some of these other ones I think is, I think cool to see. So search by rough, greens, and reg. This is not giving you any specific ranges. Corey Connors, Kevin Yu. And again, small sample for some of these guys. This is 10 rounds, 10 rounds played. That tells you too, this is shot link rounds and total rounds. So again, we have shot link data here. We have shot link data there at Torrey. That's, obviously we're capturing those Torrey rounds. So that's here for you too. All right. So let's look specifically in that 150 to 175 range. So Benny Ann, we're only getting those 4 rounds. Nick Taylor, Brendan Todd, Tiger. You hear about Tiger Woods, famous golfer in the field this week. You probably hear that somewhere. We start to get into some like meaningful sample size stuff. See Xander Schauffele. And again, this is why I just wanted to show you that you can do this. But again, you're starting to get into like in terms of adding this to your model. It's a pretty small, noisy sample of data, but you can back it out to 5 years, whatever you wanted to do with it. But again, you have the ability to do this. You cannot do this anywhere else, which is really cool. Get into that 175 to 200 bucket. Sammy Burns, Eric Cole, Tom Kim, Kuchar. Again, smaller data. Luke List, which we know he's been successful at both places. So I think that's really interesting. So we'll chop that here too. Driving you got some other stats that we could do here that you can't do anywhere else. Off the tee, you can get into not just driving distance and driving accuracy. You can model good drives percentage. Again, is on par 4s and 5s, the number of fairways hit, plus the number of greens in reg when the drive was not in the fairway. So this again gets you a little bit of a story that I think is important this week too, knowing that we're going to have a lower rate of fairways hits, which I think is interesting. Let's see, if I don't mess around right now, my sample is 3 years all rounds. So we're getting pretty massive sample size. We'll go last 50 rounds. But total driving, again, flawed stat, but I think is interesting this week is literally just summing someone's rank in driving distance and driving accuracy percentage. But I do think it tells a story this week that I think matters a little bit. We are getting a Chase Johnson there at the top, very small sample. We will filter young Chase out here because that sample is really small. Where we're at total driving. Oh, look, Ludwig, pretty damn good. And you can see here, both driving distance and driving accuracy is a plus. And again, like their rankings here are going to be interesting as well because we're dealing with only like a 70 golfer field. So you can see that here too. Again, you can get a sense of what you think matters. Again, guys are gripping and ripping a little bit more, not really playing for hanging back and finding accuracy. But I think, total driving or good drives, I think are important this week too to take a look at. You can also capture, I love this, in like different places where like positional golf off the tee really matters in terms of like, hey, driving accuracy, but also distance from the edge of the fairway, I think is like less of a binary yes, no than accuracy is. I love this metric and how you can put this into your model. So just want to show folks for the sake of it, we'll build something real quick on the way out. Let's add total driving. All you have to do is click add, this little plus button, and add it. You can make a note here if you like, and you'll add. This column has been saved, and we have this available in our mixed condition model. Let's take a look at, why don't we just grab some recent form just to show. I don't know if this is something that I'll build into my model, but let's just see who's been here, who's been playing golf in 2024 so far. We don't have a lot of rounds for these guys, but who's just been playing good golf? Strokes gained total, 2024 in this field. I have a 16-round minimum. We're going to turn that off. Scotty Scheffler, not surprising, but Charlie Hoffman, it's getting a little bit of a nice little recency bump there. Sam Burns has been in contention a bunch of times. Chris Kirk's played some good golf. So you just want to see, hey, I want to see who's playing well. Let's go tee to green. So far in 2024, we're just going to add it. Again, I just want to show folks that are seeing this the first time how to build a model. So again, not necessarily what I would recommend. Around the green is going to matter. Let's back this out. Again, you can get into, look at all the ways you can cut up around the green, guys. This is awesome. Let's go where we are. Around the green. Around the green, scrambling from the rough, it really matters this week. And no surprise to see Homa here. Some places, Augusta, you have these really short runoffs, shaved off, short grass scrambling. You can capture that specific data. So I think understanding the layout of each track matters quite a bit too. Now, again, scrambling from the rough, I think tells a different story. You can get into sand saves if that's your thing. It's very noisy as well, but I think it's something to look at. If you're looking at like tiebreakers, you just want to see who's really strong from the sands, you can do that here as well. Or straight up strokes gained around the green. But because we can add rough, let's just do it and take a look, just again, for the sake of showing people how to build a model. And then we'll also just grab some putting on POA. You can also look into scoring specific things. We can get into putting ranges if you'd like. That's, I think, very useful. Bogey avoidance is going to be something here too. That's going to be in the scoring. But let's just look at POA putting. So we're going to the putting range, filter by condition. Make this our last one. We'll add POA. So we're in last 3 years, 50 rounds if we can get it, which we're not going to get. But we'll just add here. Again, for the sake of the show and to show you how to do it. So when you're done, you've added all the things that you would like. All you need to do, create mixed condition model. It'll bring you to a new tab. You have to give your report a name. So be Riv first look. I'm going to turn this on as an expert model. So you'll be able to go in and take a look at this if you'd like. And again, if you put anything in that little box that pops up, description, you'll be able to see what that is here. Make notes for yourself. You can then obviously adjust the weights here and do anything that you want. Again, this is not the model that I would recommend building. I like to build a model, though, that does have an anchor stat, like tee to green, ball striking, strokes gained total, something like that. As we get into the season, I want to have that anchor stat with a really large sample of data, say 50 rounds, 100 rounds, and then a smaller sample of data, something that's going to capture a little bit more of like short-term recent form. We're still dealing with pretty small short-term recent form sample size based off of the limited number of 2024 rounds. So I'm not going to mess around with that too much specifically. But I think that that's really important. So for the sake of it, we'll just generate it as is just to see what happens. Well, no, I can't do that. That's too much. We'll do 50 here. We'll break these guys up a little bit. Total driving, we'll give 20. That's 70. And then we'll go 15 for the sake of it, because this is going to give us a better story. At least save and generate, and this will tell us what we have. And again, from here, you can see you can download it into a CSV. You can mess around with it. Again, you want to see the reminder of what you actually did. Click on that little icon, and it'll tell you the filters that were applied, which I think is, again, something that helps, especially if you're building multiple. But not a model that is super surprising, especially when we're giving a pretty nice chunk to Tee to Green, Max Homa, Scotty Scheffler, Ludwig Oberg, Jason Day, Siwoo Kim, Chris Kirk, Xander Schauffele, Benny Ann, Adam Scott, Bo Hostler, rounding out the top 10 of this model. Again, you can come back over to BetSports Golf, see the actual model that I will build, what Ron Kloss will build, what Andy Molitor will build, and maybe some new people building some models, some people that you might want to see building models as well, other people in the content space that you probably would find interesting to see what they're doing. That might be something that you can check out here very, very soon. Pretty excited to share with you guys that stuff. So yeah, again, get over there, start shopping around, messing with stuff. BetSports Golf, again, really, really cheap. Jump in the DMs at BetSports Golf if you can't take advantage of the Vivid deal. If you can, head over to Vivid, or download Vivid Picks. Use our promo code BetSports Golf, or you just go to the site in this article on the site. Use the links. $5 deposit and play on Vivid for a year at BetSports Golf. Just an absolutely incredible deal. So check it out. Thanks for hanging with me this morning. Come back. We'll have stuff on the site, all of our picks, plays, articles. Andy and I will be back on Tuesday with the betting show. Ron and Byron, Model Maniac, on Wednesday for the DFS show. So appreciate it.